Hello and welcome to the RacingBet Racing Preview, our Group 1 Melbourne Cup preview, the biggest day of the year, the race that stops the nation. It's Tim Geers, joined by Trent, Crebbin. We're going to be taking you through every single runner, all 24, in this year's Lexus Melbourne Cup, which takes place on Tuesday, November 3rd, the first Tuesday of November. Trent, we're finally here, Melbourne Cup Day. How do you see things?
Yeah, it's been a great carnival so far on Derby Day. I'm backing it up Tuesday for the Melbourne Cup. I think the field itself is really good. I think it's one of the strongest ones we've had in years. The strongest one I can remember in recent years, certainly. I think there's a good mix of internationals and local hopes, and I think it should be a great race.
Guys, we're not going to waste any time. What we're going to be doing is taking you through a brief look at the speed map that we think will play out in the race. And then we're going to be taking you through our comments on every single runner. If they can't win, we're just simply going to skip through them and say can't win. But we're going to cover most of the runners in this year's Lexus Melbourne Cup. We'll finish off by giving you our selections and a betting strategy for the race. Trent, you've come up with a speed map for the race. Why don't you talk our viewers through how you think the early stages of the race will play out?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I'm not 100% sure who's gonna take it up. I've got Master of Reality leading. He went forward in last year's Melbourne Cup. I think he'll do that again. Dashing Willoughby has to push forward from an outside gate. He's got no turn of foot. He has to roll forward. Twilight Payman will be right there again. I think Prince of Aaron will look to try and hold the box seat leaders back from barrier 1. Couple caught out wide that probably have to go forward to have any chance. Ocean X, Etar James. I think Finch and Anthony Van Dyke map well just behind the speed. Steel Prince and Perzan generally like to roll forward, but they're drawn wide. I think they'll just try and look for cover midfield if they can. Sir Dragon A, Surprise Baby. Ideally want to be trying to get midfield just off the fence if they can. Russian Camelot, Very Elegant, probably midfield, just off midfield, potentially 3 wide with cover. Couple others going back. We've got King of Lear Grants, Ashron, Warning Avilius, and Tiger Moth all heading back from their gates there. So I think that's probably how it'll play out. Tempo probably looks a little bit better than last year. I don't think they'll crawl as badly as they did last year, but I think it'll just be even.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think Lloyd Williams came out and basically said, here's a couple of runners in the race, those being Master of Reality and Twilight Payment. They're the horses that need to roll along at a good clip out the front. So he said they're definitely going to be going forward and they're going to be making sure the race is run at a decent tempo. All right, well, let's get into each runner and we'll try and find the winner of this year's Melbourne Cup. We'll start off with the Aidan O'Brien trained Anthony Van Dyke. Comes off a very good effort in the Caulfield Cup, beaten just the nose by Very Elegant.
Yeah, he's an obvious winning chance. His run was huge in the Caulfield Cup, going back in the field from a wide gate. There's normally races closer to the pace, and I think that's going to eventuate here from barrier 3. Big weights in the Melbourne Cup, historically not a good sign. It's much easier to carry weight in a Caulfield Cup and win over 2,400 metres than it is the 2 miles. I couldn't get him quite as short. He is at around that $8 quote. I'm going to be taking him on, but I wouldn't be surprised if class just shone through and he did win from the good gate here. But I'll be taking him on.
Yeah, I can completely agree with you there. I think it's much easier to carry the big weight in the Caulfield Cup than it is the Melbourne Cup. I think in my written comments on the article we've published on racingbet.com.au, you have to go back to Makybe Diva, I think, in her 3rd Melbourne Cup win to find the last horse who carried this sort of weight, upwards of 58 kilos to victory. So definitely got the class on his side, but I think he's got a fair task ahead of him. We'll move on to Avilius, number 2 in the race, Godolphin. Your thoughts on him?
It was a good run in the Caulfield Cup, actually. A bit held up there. Probably should have finished 3rd. Questions at 3,200 metres, and I would think he would need a wet track to feature here, so I'm happy enough to be against.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to say he can't run the 3,200 because he's only had 1 try in the past, and that was the 2018 Melbourne Cup where a horse broke down in front of him and completely he copped the worst of the backwash, and his race was over after 400 metres. But yeah, no luck last start, but I'm with you. Struggle to see him fighting out the finish on a firm deck. Vow and Declare, number 3, last year's Melbourne Cup winner. Not going as well this time in?
No, he's not going well enough. Big weight increase, can't win.
Yep, I'm with you, can't win. We'll move on to number 4, Master of Reality. We just touched on him briefly, one of Lloyd Williams' runners in the race. I thought he was definitely a winning chance here. I think he has to be included at around $21 or $26.
Yeah, he is. He rolled forward in the last year's Melbourne Cup, looked a winner, and then got relegated down to 4th after Frankie Dettori went hit bumper cars in the straight.
That's unlike Frankie.
Look, he's not here this year, so we won't have to worry about that. Mellum takes the ride. I think he's probably about his right price. He's an each way hope. I'm probably not going to be backing him, but he's he's a winner hope for sure.
Yeah, I will be backing him. Follows a really similar path this time around to what he did last year, and he carries a very similar weight. So I think with them aiming him at this race all along, I think he has to be included. And I'll be having something on him at around $21. Sir Dragonet, horse number 5, the Cox Plate winner 10 days ago, backs up into the Melbourne Cup over 3,200 metres. Can he repeat his performance?
Look, I think so, but I think he's well enough found. I think most of his form recently is at 2,000 metres. The one go that he had a real staying journey was about 2,900. He really gave out the last 100 metres or so. He really didn't stay the trip. Now, that was in a very good race. He was beaten by a very good horse in Logician that day. If this were up to 2,400 metres, I'd be very keen. But I think 3,200 metres on a firm deck is just maybe going to see him out. But he does come out of the Cox Plate, which I think is a form line that's really strong. I was happy enough to be against him. I think he's drifted a little bit early, and I think you'll be getting a slightly longer price on the day. Can win, but I'm happy to be against.
Yeah, I'm heavily against him in this race. I just think all his best form has been over shorter distances, and all his best form, more importantly, has been on rain-affected ground. We're going to be on a good 3 here for the Melbourne Cup this time of day. So I think on the firm deck, I'll be looking to take him on definitely. We'll move on to horse number 6, Twilight Payment, stablemate of Master of Reality, or at least they're in the same ownership group. How do you see him? I think he can run a much improved race this time around. He finished midfield last year. I think he finished 11th. Yep. He led from a wide gate on that occasion, but I reckon his form leading into this year's race is much better than what it was leading into last year's race. And Lloyd Williams actually came out and said he wasn't right for last year's race, but we've got him going as good as we can this year. So I'm expecting him to run a much better race, and it's worth noting that he did absolutely cane his stablemate Master of Reality by 8 lengths a couple of starts ago, yet he's $26 and Master of Reality is $21.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the market's just kind of taking into account last year's Melbourne Cup where he was a touch disappointing. And yeah, I read those comments as well that apparently he's settled in a lot better this year. I think all of his overseas form suggests that he is a better horse than Master of Reality. Master of Reality was first up that day, but Twilight Payments had the SPs, the margins over him pretty much their entire career. I think his last start run was good, finishing third behind Search for a Song in France, which is a strong form line. McNeil takes the ride. That kind of suggests that with Mellum going aboard Master of Reality, he's their number 1 seed, but McNeil's riding well. I think he's a big chance if he's settled in a little bit better, and he's another one that'll roll forward.
Yeah, I'll be backing both of them, no matter which jockey's on who. Horse number 7, the Caulfield Cup winner, Very Elegant. 3 Group 1 wins from 4 starts this preparation. Steps up to 3,200 for the first time. What's she going to go like on a firm deck? As I've just said with Sir Dragonet, this is going to be a good 3 deck by the time the Cup's run. Can she win?
I'm going to say that no, she can't win, actually. I'm pretty happy to be against her here. I think 3,200 metres, she still doesn't settle right. And I know that's probably just going to stay with her for a career now, but she still does race a bit fiercely, and it's, doesn't seem to bother her too much. But up to 2 miles on a firm 3, she won the Turnbull on a good track, but she was, half a length ahead of most of the field. I think up to 3,200 metres, 55.5 kilos for a mare on a good track, as we said. I'm pretty happy to be against her. She'll try hard and she'll finish top 10, I would say for sure, but I don't think I'm going to be considering her a legitimate winning chance.
Yeah, I thought she got everything in her favour in the Caulfield Cup. It was a wet deck. She's not going to get that here, as I said. It's going to be bone dry. And you're dead right. 55.5 kilos isn't a lightweight for a mare. I think, as we alluded to before, Mackay Diva, yeah, sure, she carried 58 in her last Melbourne Cup victory, but she was a freak. You go back before that, and I think the last mares to win it were Ethereal, and I forget the name of the other one, but they carried 52 and 51 kilos. So she's got a fair task here with 55.5. Horse number 8, Mustajir. My comment is might run top 10, but not a winning chance.
Yeah, I think he'd need a wet deck to really finish top 10. I'd suggest he's more likely to finish in the 20s rather than the top 20. Just needs a wet deck, despite a decent run in the Caulfield Cup. Can't win.
Move on to horse number 9. Really fascinating runner, this one. Stratum Albion from the stables of Willie Mullins in Ireland. It's currently $51, and this is probably my best roughie in the race. I think he has to be included in everything. Trifectas, first fours, top tens, you name it, put him in it. I think he's got a really similar profile to Max Dynamite, who this stable sent out for a couple of Melbourne Cups, I think 2015 and 2017. That horse ran second in 2015 and then third in 2017. Carried a very similar weight to what this horse does, and their profile is very similar. This horse has been mixing his form between flat racing and hurdle racing. Max Dynamite did much the same. And I don't reckon they'd be sending this horse out here if he wasn't a legitimate chance of running well. So I think at $51, he's a good bet for me.
Yeah, I think a top 10, maybe even a top 5 is definitely in reach. You know, he's going to definitely run the trip. He's got form over much longer distances, over 4,000 metres plus. His last start run was quite good. He started $21. He ran second to a very handy horse in Enbahar, beating home Dashing Willoughby that day, who's, before he had his Caulfield Cup run, was considered an each-way hope in the Melbourne Cup for sure. I didn't have him in my numbers. I don't think he's going to run a placing or a top 4. I wouldn't be surprised, but as a top 10 kind of play for an exotic different angle there, I think he's a good chance of running top 10 for sure.
You mentioned Dashing Willoughby, and he's the next horse we'll look at, horse number 10. Disappointing in his past couple of runs, but his best form would seem, genuinely competitive in a race like this.
Yeah, that's what I've got. I've got my best form would give him an each way chance. Step up to 2 miles will suit for sure. He's going to have a big grinding stay. It doesn't really have the turn of foot that's generally kind of required to win in Australian staying races. But he's just impossible to have off that Caulfield Cup run. He was vetted all clear. He led the field up. He was gone at the 800 metre mark. I believe he finished last. He was beaten a long way.
Last.
Yeah. And he's just really hard to back off that run despite, his best form being okay. Maybe he just hasn't travelled well, but you can't really have him off that run.
Yep, agree. Horse number 11, the next one, Finch, returning for his third crack at a Melbourne Cup. He ran 4th back in 2018 and then he finished 7th last year. Kind of brings a very eerily similar preparation this time in. I think if you look back through his form last year leading into the Melbourne Cup, he endured a wide run in the Caulfield Cup and then was beaten, a length and a half in the Melbourne Cup. This year, he's run consecutive third placings, first and second up, and then once again was caught 3 wide the trip in the Caulfield Cup leading into Tuesday's race. Can he run well again?
Yeah, absolutely. He'll run well. I'd be very surprised if he didn't finish top 10. I just think that he just can't put races away. He doesn't really have a turn of foot. He's a big, gangly, striding thing. He maps beautifully. He gets J-Mac, which is probably significant here. I think he started favourite in this race last year as well at 850, but I was happy enough to be against as a legitimate winning chance. I think he'll finish somewhere between 5th and 10th and run well, but not win.
Yep, same thoughts here. I think you've summed it up perfectly. Horse number 12, one of Australia's favourites, back for another crack, much like Finch, is Prince of Arran. From the stables of Charlie Fellows. Jamie Carr booked for this year's race. Of course, Michael Walker pre-booked on to Dashing Willoughby. Draws barrier 1, probably a good barrier draw for him. Can he go one better? I think he was promoted to second last year after the protest against Master of Reality.
Yeah, definitely he can go one better. I loved his run in the Caulfield Cup. He went back from a wide gate to get the line very strongly. I think the key with him here is that his last 2 years, he's had to have a second run before going into the Melbourne Cup to ensure that he made the field. And he's won both of those second up runs. I think he won the Lexus and the Geelong Cup just from memory there. Yeah, and so he comes here second up. He's assured of a start. He comes up a really good run in the Caulfield Cup. Draws barrier 1. I think Carr's going to be quite positive on him. I'd suggest he probably wants to try and get leaders back. At worst, 3 back defence would be okay for him. He's going to need a little bit of luck at the right times, but if he gets it, he's a definite winning hope. I've got him in exotics, absolutely all exotics. I'm just probably not going to be backing him as a win only. I think this is a slightly tougher cup than last year, and I'm just wondering if he's just half a length below those very top liners, but it wouldn't shock me at all. Jamie Carr's flying, and I'd like to see both horse and jockey get a win in the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to back him or not. He's just at a funny kind of price where, he's at that price range where he's not, a huge price where you really want to back him, but you also don't really want to let him go because he's obviously an enormous winning chance. I agree with you. He's running the Caulfield Cup with Sublime, and he doesn't have to qualify this year through lead-up races. So he's probably going to be a little bit fresher than he has been in the past couple of years. And this horse just grows another leg when it comes to Australia. So he has to absolutely be included. and rates as a leading chance. 13, Surprise Baby. Speaking of leading chances, he's basically been close enough to favourite for this race ever since last year's race. He's had an unconventional preparation. Obviously, he ran 5th in last year's Cup, beaten less than a length, and ever since then they've plotted out a path to have him peaking on Tuesday for this year's Melbourne Cup, which means we've only seen him race twice since last year's Melbourne Cup. He was second first up in the Finn Stakes, and then an inconclusive kind of performance last start. Does that worry you, that preparation, or are you happy just to trust Paul Pruska?
Yeah, I'm happy enough to trust the stable. Pruska's a bit of a staying training freak there. If this horse had needed another run at any stage, there's plenty of options for him. He must be doing plenty of work at home in Horsham. Craig Williams been putting up some good vision of him there. I just think that, he's been setting this horse for this race for a year. I just don't think he really gets warm until out beyond 2,000 metres. Like, his run in the Turnbull was solid. He kind of drew barrier 1, got held up a bit, really only got clear air for the last 200 metres and worked home quite well. Meets Very Elegant 3 kilos better there. I think he's clearly going to be much better suited at 3,200 metres. There's going to be a few people taking him on saying he won't have the fitness base to run the 3,200 metres. I just think you've got to trust Pruska here. Yeah, I think you've just got to trust Pruska here. Goes up a kilo off last year's run, but to counter that, he gets Willow on board instead of Geordie Childs, and he also goes barrier 20 to barrier 7, which I think is much better for him. He hopefully won't have to get back to last, and I think he is one of the legitimate winning chances, and I'll be backing him.
Number 14, the Adelaide Cup winner, King of Lear Grants, comes here after running 3rd in the Geelong Cup, I believe it was. How do you line up that kind of form? Obviously, the Adelaide Cup, on the one hand, you can say the form is, B or C grade, but then you see the likes of Surprise Baby, who also won the Adelaide Cup and went really well last year's Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, King of Lear Grants was kind of touted as a real Melbourne Cup hopeful or big chance after the Adelaide Cup run. Kind of failed in the Andrew Ramsden as the favourite when Ocean X beat him. I think his run in the Geelong Cup was solid. He kind of had all favours there, but I thought he ran quite well. Danny O'Brien camp, Damien Lane on board. I think he'll be really set to peak here. I thought he was a big price. I'm not really sure if he's a genuine top 3 hope, but top 10, definitely. I think he's probably overs in those kind of markets. If you're looking to play at something like that, I think he'll run top 10 and won't be beaten out of sight for sure.
Yeah, and he peaks 3rd up from a spell as well. Like, he's had 2 wins from 3 starts when 3rd up from a spell, and he's obviously just been building towards running in this race. So I'm similar with you. I thought $61 was a big price. I don't know if he's good enough to win, but I agree can run well. Horse number 15, Russian Camelot. Started favourite in the Cox Plate last start. Was a very brave run for 3rd, I thought. Had to work early from the wide gate. Did most of the running and was beaten by a couple of good horses. He profiles well here as a 4-year-old with 53.5 kilos. Damien Oliver for Danny O'Brien. Is he the Melbourne Cup winner?
He's one of the toughest ones I've had to line up. I think that this has been his grand final. A lot of people were saying that the Cox Plate was his grand final, but I saw an interesting comment. He just had one too many runs. Like, he had 1,600, 1,800, another 2,000 run, and then the Cox Plate run, and now he comes here. So he's got the miles in the legs to really run out the distance. And I think he's probably just better over a trip. His SA Derby win was his best, most impressive win, I guess, so far over the 2,500. So I think stepping up in trips not going to be a problem. He just still does quite a few things wrong. And if they do go slowly and he's stuck behind horses and pulling his head off over 2 miles, he's just going to run his race before it's, we've even got to the final straight. I think he's probably a little bit better on a soft track as well. So if we're on a good 3 here and he's doing a bit wrong, I'm just not sure how he's going to finish off, but he does profile well. And I think this will be the race that he's set to peak for. Must fall for all exotics, but I'm just not really sure if I'm going to be backing him. Although he was the subject of an interesting betting move on Betfair the other night. If you want to touch on that quickly. Yeah,
well, essentially they were laying him for anything that people wanted to get on. If you wanted a price, you could get it on Betfair the other night. I think some people, maybe even yourself, Trent, you got upwards of $40. There were some people getting 60s, 100s. So
up to 100s.
Yeah, it was quite fascinating to watch and really crazy, especially, so close to a race like this for a horse of this profile to be able to get on to win that much and that at those sorts of prices. Always, I suppose, rings alarm bells, and it's a big red flag. But then Danny O'Brien came out the next day and said, "Nah, nothing wrong. He's good as gold." So it'll be interesting to see what the market does with him closer to the race. Yeah, fascinating horse to watch. I think, look, if he's right and at his best, with even luck, he should be fighting out the finish somewhere. But yeah, that pre-race market and the minutes leading up to the race, or just on the day itself, is going to be pretty interesting viewing, I reckon. We'll move on to Steel Prince, who was the Geelong Cup winner at his last start. He beat Ashran, who then came out and won the Lexus. How do you line up that Geelong Cup form, and can he win this year? He ran in last year's Cup, ran ninth in last year's Melbourne Cup,
Ninth.
so he needs to improve a little bit, but he looks to be going better this time than what he was last year.
Yeah, I think he's going better this year as well. He ran some good races. He ran a good race in the naturalism. Bart Cummings run into the wind. I thought he ran really well. Backed that up in the Geelong Cup, where he was absolutely backed off the map as well. He opened about $7 or so. Started $3.50 favourite, and it was a tough win. Ashran there behind him kind of got going late. Come out and won the Lexus Hotham since. Look, I think he'll run well. The barrier draw makes it tricky for him because I still think he's a horse that much prefers to be on speed. Barrier 21, William Pike will need to weave some serious magic there to get him into a good spot. So I don't think he's a real winning hope, but again, it wouldn't surprise me to see him run well and finish top 10.
Yeah, I've got the same comment there. Can run well, but I don't see him winning. Moving on to horse number 17. We're going to try and keep this video under about 30 minutes, so we'll skip through some of these other chances. But horse number 17, the Chosen One. A good run last start in the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah, it was a good run. Kind of ran out of his skin there. I think, he did have every chance there, and I can't really see him turning the tables on a couple of the other ones. I thought Prince of Arran was probably a better run from back in the field. Another one that I think will probably run well with the blinkers on. Again, I think that was a little bit of a flash in the pan. I'm not really sure if he's good enough to win here.
We'll move on to horse number 18, Ashrun, who of course won the Lexus Hotham on Saturday to qualify for this race. That backed up a really good run in the Geelong Cup. Trainer Andreas Waller, he won this race with Protectionist back in 2014. He's made the journey over. All signs point to him running a really good race. And we've seen this race, the Lexus form, hold up in recent years through Prince of Arran. We've seen him go close. So can this guy go close and handle the 3-day backup?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really tough for European stayers that are generally used to having their runs quite spaced compared to Australian racing, where you often see horses on the quick backup as a kind of a fitness tool. He's going to get back a long way here from the car park draw. He's going to get back probably the last 3,200 metres, definitely going to suit. I think he'd need a good tempo on to come from back there because I'm not sure he has the real turn of foot to sprint. Yeah, I was happy enough to be against him. I thought Steel Prince, beat him fair and square in the Geelong Cup. This horse is only first up, but Steel Prince is almost double his price here. I was happy enough to be against Ashrun at the prices, but I wouldn't talk you out of him.
Yeah, I think at $23, I'm going to be playing on him something small. I just really respect this stable, this trainer, and this setup. And as I've said, we've seen that Lexus Hotham form hold up in recent years. So I'm going to be including him just at $23. I think that's a touch over the odds. Move on to horse number 19, Warning. Can't win for me.
No, I don't think he can win either. No, happy to move on.
Horse number 20, Etar James, a Sydney Cup winner, comes into this third up from a spell.
Yeah, also can't win. Gauchi finishes top 15.
And then we'll get to the favourite, or the current favourite, horse number 21, Tiger Moth, the veteran of just 4 career starts from the stables of Aidan O'Brien. Kieran McAvoy booked to ride. This horse profiles exceptionally well for this race. I've got him a clear top pick. I'll go short of calling him a moral, but I would be very, very surprised if this horse wasn't finishing in the top 3.
Yeah, he does fit the profile so well, that Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old. Only had 4 starts, but he seems to be improving at every start. He's run 2 starts ago in the Irish Derby behind Santiago. I thought was a huge race. He probably should have gone close to winning that. There's a big gap back to third, and Santiago's a very good horse. Would have probably started single figures if they brought him out here as they were planning to. Last start in a Group 3 at Leopardstown, he was dominant. He bolted in by 4 lengths, showed a good turn of foot there. I think if they go fast, he's going to be even more suited there. They went fast that day. If they go slow, I think he does have the turn of foot to get himself out of trouble. Kieran McAvoy, Aidan O'Brien, 52.5 kilos. Wide draw, it's probably not perfect for him, but I think it's probably better than drawing in the first kind of inside 5 barriers. I think giving him some galloping room, he just needs a good back to follow to present into the race at the right time. And I think he's going to be really hard to beat if he does get that run.
Yeah, look, barrier 23, I'm not overly worried about that either. The last 2 winners have started from barrier 21 and barrier 19. It just profiles almost exactly the same as the likes of Cross Counter in 2018 and Rekindling in 2017 as that Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old, as you mentioned. And the weights of the last 3 winners or 4 winners of this race have been 52, 51, 51 and a half and 52. So everything to me points to this horse like running exceptionally well. And I don't think I've ever seen Aidan O'Brien bring a stronger hand than what he's got here with the likes of Tiger Moth and, of course, Anthony Van Dyke at the top of the weight. So, yeah, look, I'm really keen. $8 I think is a good bet. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start closer to like $6 and a clear-cut favourite. I think he'll win the race. Happy to be backing him. Horse number 22, Ocean X.
Look, she booked a ticket in May back in the Andrew Ramsden with that winger at King of Lear Grant. She's been poor ever since, although her last start run was much improved, sitting handy to a quite brutal tempo, really, only finishing 3 lengths behind Miami Bound. If she brought that kind of run, she'd probably finish in the top 10, but I don't think she's a winning chance.
I think that form is absolutely ordinary. Coming out of the Moonee Valley race, so I'm happy to take her on. Speaking of, the winner of that race at Moonee Valley, the Moonee Valley Gold Cup, was horse number 23, Miami Bound. Look to appreciate the softer conditions and also getting up to that distance. Will the step up to 3,200 metres help her, or is she hopeless?
I think it will help her, but against her is a real firm deck here. So, yeah, with Ocean X, I'm pretty happy to be against her here as well. I'm happy to be against Miami Bound as well. I agree that's not the right form here. So, yeah, happy to be against both.
Then we get to the final runner, horse number 24, Persan, who's finished either first or second in his past 9 runs. Had 5 starts at Flemington for 4 wins and a second placing. This is obviously much better. Probably his biggest test to date, no doubt. But he was a good winner of the Bart Cummings, and we've seen Steel Prince come out of that race and win the Geelong Cup. Is he a sneaky little chance here at around $41?
Not really. Like he tries hard and he knows where the winning post is, but I thought he had every favour in that Bart Cummings. Steel Prince kind of sat wide into that strong headwind there. Persan sucked up along the rails, got a split late, basically had the dream run. I'd be pretty confident with even luck that Steel Prince beats him home most of the time there. Carries the bottom weight here. That might attract a few people, but draws wide. I don't think he's going to get a great run in Transit, and I'm happy enough to be against him too.
Okay, let's quickly take the viewers through our selections and our betting strategy for the race. I'll start off. My top selection is Tiger Moth. He's currently $8. I think he's a fantastic bet, and I think he will be winning the race. Others that I will be backing in the race are Master of Reality at $21, Twilight Payment at $26, Ash Run at $23, and I'll probably be looking to save on Surprise Baby at around $9. So they're the 5 for me: Master of Reality, Twilight Payment, Surprise Baby, Ash Run, and the horse to beat them all will be Tiger Moth. Trent, over to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tiger Moth on top. I think, $8 is a good price. I think I can see the market coming for him late and starting a bit shorter than that. So I'm happy to have him on top. I think Surprise Baby for me is the clear danger. I'm not worried about the prep that he's had. I thought his run last year was huge and he gets a better setup here. So I'm happy to have something on him as well. The one at odds that I probably will end up having something on is Master of Reality. I think he's a better horse than Twilight. Sorry, getting them confused there. Have something on Twilight Payment. I think he's a better horse than Master of Reality, despite finishing behind him last year. So he's not hopeless at odds. And then Prince of Aaron, Russian Camelot probably will be right around the mark there, but probably can't have them all. But for exotics, definitely.
Yeah, I agree on Prince of Aaron and Russian Camelot as well. And I did forget to mention the clear value in the race for me, and what I'd be throwing in everything is Stratum Albion at $51. Very good. Trent, do you want to quickly touch on your standout bet on Melbourne Cup Day at Flemington? There's 10 races on the card, and I know you're very keen to back one horse in particular.
Yeah, race 5 at Flemington. Number 2, Ain't No Deal Done. I think if they went to the Derby with him last week, he probably would have won. Last start at Morphettville, he made a long sustained run, kind of chased the leaders early off a hot tempo at 1,800 metres. Victoria Key came from behind him, kind of got the suck run behind him, came out and won the Wakeful last start at Flemington. Stays at 1,800 metres here. I don't think that'll be much of an issue. He's about even money, and I think he's going to be far too good for his opposition again.
Very good. Well, we've been informed with our video previews. We both found Johnny Get Angry in the Derby at $34 there on Saturday. We also threw up Yulong Prince in the Kennedy Cantala. So we're running hot. Hopefully we can continue that, looking at this year's Melbourne Cup and tip our viewers into a few winners. We'll have a full race-by-race preview for Flemington on racingbet.com.au. We're going to have our full runner-by-runner preview for the Melbourne Cup itself, also on racingbet.com.au. So we'll have everything covered all week. Melbourne Cup week, every single meeting, every single race we're going to have covered. And hopefully that means plenty of winners. We're looking forward to doing it all again and hope you find a winner of the 2020 Melbourne Cup.